Hello, 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 and we are back.
How y'all doing?
How y'all doing? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hey y'all.
You straight?
Yeah, I'm trying to get
All right.
myself straight.
I am
straight.
Kel.
And I'm Quintella, and this is Recipe to Chivalry. How y'all doing today? How y'all doing? Are y'all staying warm out there?
Yes, yes, yes.
Real quick, before we get started, I'm going to do what I do best. We're going to do a quick little prayer, then we're going to keep it moving. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you. We thank you for this opportunity and this platform. We ask that you look down on all our guests and our community and our audience and all our followers, Lord. Lord, I ask that you keep them during this time and this weather, and I hope that our information that we give them today, that it is something that they can use in their lives. Lord, we love you and we bless your name. Amen.
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 Thank you for that quick prayer. Hey, V, how you doing?
Hey.
Hey.
Hot dog, I got a new guest on today, Drea.
Give her flowers.
She said she just gonna listen, and we like that.
All righty.
So you won't hear her at all. So we got
also
a new
have
guest.
Mr. Atkins on here giving Miss Flowers.
All right.
All righty. So as you can see on here today, the Q&A. What does the numbers say, and what do they mean? Low marriage rates amongst the Black community. So in this segment, marriage is in the Black community, the numbers and the narrative. So the numbers and the narrative. Excuse me.
It's showing that there is only about 31% of Americans are currently married, compared to roughly 48 to 50% of all other types of Americans.
And some of these statistics are from the blackdemographics.com if you want to know, go look up yourself.
Right, we kind of looked into that, and we was just trying to figure out why that is in our community. What has changed over the years?
Right.
What has caused these changes? Why do we think they're happening? And is it going to continue to be on a decline, or is there a way for,
to change that narrative?
Right. Because, we're here to say that you can do it.
We can do it. We can do it.
You can do it.
So about 50% of Black adults have never been married. That's a high number.
It is a high number. I think one thing that I wish we would have did some more research on is what is the age group.
I believe that's on there.
Okay. I didn't know for sure.
So it's significantly higher than the national average of 34%.
Okay.
And also discussion. So what societal or cultural shifts do you think contribute to most of this gap? Do you or the audience, do you have any response to that?
Or idea of maybe why, from your own perspective of maybe why we're seeing these changes? Is it what the focus is?
What do you think?
Can they hear us?
I believe they can hear us. What do you think?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Third time, what do you think?
Oh, you
guys. If you ask,
we got somebody talking now. Go ahead.
All right. If you ask my opinion, one of the things is I'm going to use the term heritage. Look back at the Black culture. What happened way back through slavery? We were separated from our women, so I think some of that has still carried over.
I agree with that. I think we'll get into it a little longer down the lines here, but I think when you look at the incarceration rate within the Black community of men, I think that plays a part of that contribution. Gender, I think gender plays a difference in the matter in the rates of the way, especially now, the way both genders think. We talked about previously in the podcast, like gender roles switching. So that could play a big part in it too, So Black men, according to some of these statistics we pulled up, says Black men are slightly more likely than black women to be married. And that's approximately 34 to 36% of black men versus 28 to 29% of black women. Some of my black women, you want to respond to that?
So what is
Respond to why more black men are married than black women?
Yes.
Personally, I just feel like, for one, women nowadays are, I don't know that they're really marrying for love.
Okay.
Maybe some of them are more so marrying for stability. And then also on the flip side of that, you might have a situation where gender roles is playing an effect, because whereas back in the day, more so the man was the breadwinner and the leader of the house, where you have now, like, women are starting to progress in their um, careers and have become the breadwinner and may not be wanting to settle. I feel like women, and we've talked about this before, like, women, our standards, you know what I mean, like, in not settling, sometimes that might show up as to why less women are married than men, just not wanting to settle.
Okay. I
can agree. I can definitely agree with that. I can absolutely.
Any of our guests have a response to that, to add on or disagree?
Partially agree. Partially agree. Part of the reason is that I believe black women have become very strong, and as you said, their careers are very important in the choices for marrying or not marrying. And black women are strong in the sense that black men are still lagging behind because of economic standards. I think they're still kind of caught in the past, as I'm not as good as, not all, but a very large percentage. And I think that has a lot to do with marriage. That I'm still a player. I'm not ready for this. Go ahead.
Okay, I can see that. Okay. So, however, amongst those married, including divorced, widowed, black women have historically had higher lifetime rates because they tend to live longer and marry earlier. Yeah, somebody want to say that?
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, what role might life expectancy, divorce, and widowhood play in interpreting these single statistics? What do you think?
So, okay, say that one more time for me. What role might...
You want me to go back?
No, just that question.
So, what role might life expectancy, divorce, and widowhood play in interpreting the single statistics? So, the single statistics of why less were married. This is what roles that these might play into that, whether it's life expectancy, the divorce rate, or being a widow. How could those play into women wanting to stay single? Yes.
It could be their backgrounds, the way they grew up, or the way they saw their parents interacting. So that could possibly play a big part into what is going on. Y'all excuse me for a moment.
So I think, like she was saying, I think that's back to what he was saying about culture. You want to say it again? You want to chime in?
Yes. I think it has a lot to do with ego. Black men don't, I'm going to just simply say they don't visit the doctors as much. They're not willing to say something is physically wrong with me. I need to have it checked out. I can handle it. And I think that's part of their problem, just a part.
I agree with that. I agree with that because I've suffered from that myself. I know some other gentlemen that go that route. We'll wait till something fall off before we say something's wrong. So what about the divorce side, divorce and widowhood? How do you think that would play in the single statistic?
Well, some of the things I said is I still want to be a player. Marriage has a definite I'm going to just use a small term, definite style to it. And black men don't want to adhere to that style. They still want to be players and be married too. So therefore, where does that put black women? And as I already said, black women they have become just courageous. They're down to earth. They want to advance in careers, and they are tough.
Okay, y'all agree with that?
I can agree with that for the most part. I just think that the expectancy of life, like you were saying, if you're pursuing a life where you're trying to be healthier and self-conscious about these things, and then when you're looking for a mate and you can't find anybody that's trying to do the same thing and is not on that same level, then I can see how those things would come into play. Like you were saying too, with women not, if they're out here and we're trying to get the career thing going, we're trying to eat healthier, be healthier, you want to be in a relationship with somebody who's also on that same path, so that you'll have that companionship into your older age, and you don't want to worry about whether or not they're going to be around after 2 or 3 years of marriage, or am I going to be divorced because he's not going to meet some of those standards that you've already incorporated into your own life.
Okay. So I want to address the part where he said about the men wanting to be a player. Is that in early manhood, or do you think that dies out after a while, or does that continue regardless? And that's why we're having the big discrepancy of that mindset of not wanting to adhere to that style. Like you said, marriage is a style. I think I can speak from both perspectives of that, but I just want to know, do you think that dies out after a while? Or age doesn't matter, or does the culture play a part of that?
Culture plays a part, but it relies on maturity. How fast do black men mature? They have so many things coming at them, I believe, that they don't mature as fast as the black women do. And they're just slow in maturing. So therefore, as you said, they don't come to that standard of living that, hey, I'm married, I'm supposed to do this, or I want to be married, I'm supposed to do this. They don't conform to any of those rules. They want to go still. I'm the player. I'm a player.
And I think he said something that's very interesting. You're absolutely right as far as the mature rate. And I think that's where it comes into play with women now, because now they feel like, okay, if I'm trying to do X, Y, Z, and I'm 30, and you're not mature until you're 60. I don't want you at 60, and now all of a sudden you're mature because your expected life is already short in that 60. By then you're old. There'll be things that she's trying to do, and you can't keep up. So I think a lot of that happens with Black women too, because there is such a men are not maturing at the rate that they should be, and women are maturing a lot faster. I think there's that gap, and it's caused that singleness.
Okay, I can deal with that.
I feel like. I mean, that's the way I'm yeah, definitely.
Okay. I can see
how
that.
y'all feel about that? We lost one.
Who we lose?
V.
Oh, we lost V for a minute.
Yeah.
She'll be back.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're going to go back to some of these statistics.
Why are we going back? Go ahead.
The statistics? I don't mean.
Join her back in.
I don't mean. Where is she?
Right up here.
Yeah, I don't see over here.
It says added to the stream. She ran back out. I don't know.
Yeah, I think she fell back off.
Okay.
So where was I?
It was right there.
Okay, so we asked about what societal or cultural shifts do you think contribute to the gap?
We did that, right?
So then, gender differences. So let's go with that. In marriage rates, Black men are slightly more likely than Black women to be married. I think we did that part already.
Yeah. We did that. We're doing good. Look, okay, we're keeping right our notes together, y'all.
Moving right along. Here she is right here. Okay.
What role might, like, okay, we did that.
All right, so marriage trends over time.
Okay.
I think that ties in very well what he was saying about some cultural or mindsets from back then in the days. He brought up slavery and how we got separated from our women. So I think
Okay,
that
so
plays a
that
part.
deals more with the why, I think, for marriage. So I think that's something that probably should be brought up. Why did they get married back then, and why is that not an option now? Like, what was the drive or the reasoning behind marrying back there? He was saying slavery. What else was there? Was it for survival of our culture? So maybe that's why there was a higher rate of marriages because and I'm just going off experience with my grandparents. I know my grandmother was married off very young, both her and my great grandmother. So for me, in my head, I'm thinking it was for producing, for having children, just keeping that lineage going. Um, and maybe at some point love came into play, but I
Excuse me.
think it was more for about reproducing than
Well, I think if you're going back with that time frame, I believe it was that and some more of a survival
survival
because what we
mode.
were going through as it progressed and slavery ended. I think it still was about survival, but unity from what we had lost of going through all that. Kind of, I think, will prompt a lot of it back then, because some families were torn apart,
Right.
not just from the women themselves, but if you go back and do your history and read up on it, there's a huge separation according to should I say worth or prize when they put up somebody on the selling block and they would just strip the family apart, especially if they produced what they say, I hate to say the word, but good stock.
Mhm.
They're like strong men. They see a strong man. You want to say something to that?
Yes, I'll give you 60% correct on that. But one of the things I see, all men have egos, and something built in. We want to see us men, be it black or white. We want to see a little mini me running around. We all want to see mini me's, and that's part of the answer to the question that you're asking. For existence, yes, but everybody wants a mini me.
I agree with that, and I lean that towards legacy. Legacy meaning me. I mean, for me, it's always for me personally. I won't say every man, but you want to leave some behind. Yes, you do want a little mini me behind. I'm like when I got married, I had two daughters right away, and even to this day, I think my youngest daughter is mimics me way more than my son does. My son has a lot of my traits and qualities, but my daughter, Marla, she emulates so much of me. It's eerie. Like she loves to draw, the music, almost everything. The way we address people.
Definitely the way they address.
She's definitely a mini me. But
I
yeah,
wanted to add, can I add something?
sure, absolutely.
I think too, if we're talking about like back then, I think it's about ownership. Like that, like when you are marrying someone, you get that piece of paper, like this is yours. This is your person, and then that allows like we're talking about the legacy that allows the last name to be carried. You know what I mean? Carried on. So I think like back in the day it was more about like this paper proves that you're mine and I'm yours. So I think that had a lot to do with it back in the day as well.
I can see some of that. My only, I won't say rebuttal, but my only answer to that would be, I think some of that was more law driven too. When you had censorship pop in, um, and I think sometimes if we go back and do our study on that, when you look at separation wise, they'll say, no, no, we're married. And that's just what you're saying. You have to show legal document that this person was supposed to be here or with you. Okay, respond to I see you.
Well, you guys are using the term back then. How far back then are we talking about? Because remember, most men or most people didn't read 500 years ago. So that piece of paper really didn't exist a long time back. So how far back are you talking?
Oh well,
Uh,
I wasn't going back to like slavery per se.
okay.
That
All
we
right.
couldn't
Very
read.
good.
Yeah.
Me, I think I was referring to both because I think that was my sort of, I hate to use the word again, rebuttal was, I think at that point, like maybe slavery and maybe a little afterwards, that document had to be shown for whatever the case may be. But like he's saying, back then, we didn't have that.
Right, because they couldn't read it anyway. There was far in between.
There was no
Rain.
ring. There was no,
Yeah, there was no ring there. I mean, they
They get married. They got married, or whatever they considered
marriage
marriage
at
to
that
be.
time.
I guess.
Right.
Or I think that's another subject we have to like really dive into. So we're just not speaking off the top of our head and actually dealing with facts. But
And I think also like progressing, like even to um and this kind of speaks to the pros and the cons because growing up in the I would say 70s, 80s, and 90s, there were more people that were together but wouldn't get married because of the benefits.
Right.
You know, it's like we together, but on paper, I'll be able to get this benefit without being married. So we're gonna stay together, but I'm not gonna claim you because I want to keep getting these benefits for the kids. The more money that's into the household, the less benefits. And then on the flip side of that, there was times when marrying meant more benefits. So I think again, it still kind of goes back to sometimes it's a business decision
And that's what I was going to bring
to
up.
or not get married. Hmm.
Right. And that's what I was going to bring up, and I didn't want to jump ahead because I feel like that's part of the reason why we have the decrease now on people choosing to remain single or not getting married because of the benefits. It's like, okay, we can build together, but we're still separate and we don't have to have the name. We're living together, we have these children, and we're good. But, outside of that, what's mine is mine and you keep yours. And what we bring together is only for like if they decide to have children, for the children, and that's it moving forward.
well, being that this was back into the black community, my thing about that would be when you look at if you do your research and dive into the welfare system, how it was developed, and some of the things they put into place where the black men could not be there.
Right.
And this was, if it was marriage, then fine, but just be there as in the household,
Right. They couldn't.
you couldn't because it would tear into the so-called benefits you receive. And in my opinion, it was a ploy against the black family. And for some reason, we adopted that to a certain degree. And I think it was detrimental to our community. But again, that could be another whole subject. The median age, we're going to get back to some more. Oh, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yes, both comments I believe are on par, but one of the things we have to look at also, and this is very important, look at social media. We're going to say back from the 80s, social media from the 80s forward. Your eyes are the windows to the world. Your eyes are the windows to the world. And what do we see? Television came on the scene. And what do we see on TV? We see people in different arts on TV, and they become our idols. Rather than our parents, they became our idols. Not everybody, most became our idols. And what happened in that society? They got separated. So we start to see people getting separated, high class people getting separated. And that became part of life for not just the black community, but for society.
Okay, I can see that. I want to address Drea. Drea, I'm sorry I misunderstood you. My wife got me corrected on that. If you're wanting to say something, you are able to speak. We can hear you. Not see you, but we can definitely hear you.
But she'll come in.
Okay, hopefully she heard that.
Right.
Let me lower this. But yes, I do agree with some of that you were saying.
Y'all excuse
And
me.
sometimes we have to be careful of letting social media guide our direction and lifestyle and intentions because you can definitely get caught up in that.
And y'all got to remember, I'm reading
She's jumping between both.
Facebook and
Right.
YouTube too. So
She's doing the brunt of the
Jazz-
work. I'm just pushing buttons.
I got Jazz over here. She's on over here on Facebook, and
Okay.
she's saying the government replaced the husband.
Yeah, they tried to.
They tried to within the homes.
Well, then again, I disagree with that. You say displace,
Replace.
replace the husband. But if you're speaking to what I was talking to about as far as like welfare recipients, yeah, I can see what you're saying, but it was more so towards like what my wife was saying is what's yours is yours, what's mine is mine. And we come together and build that. They tore that apart because if you had a man staying there, you had to they, what you received from the government was less, and that kind of tarnished or hurt the family of where they lived at. So that's why the man wasn't there. But if you were married, you were married. You had to deal with it regardless. But that's why a lot of men didn't stay in that relationship of not actually being married on paper, but because they weren't not allowed to stay in the household when it came to that situation. But I can agree with you somewhat on that.
Okay.
Where was I at? Okay, so the median age at first women for black women has increased, often into early 30s. Um, so do you think delayed marriage is a choice, a necessity, or both when it comes to delayed marriages?
And when we say delayed, are we talking about over a certain age?
Yeah, so it was saying the median age is actually increased to into early 30s of women getting married. So the question is, why is there a delay in getting married early? Is it out of choice, out of necessity,
You
or
mean
both?
later on in life instead of
Yes.
earlier? Well, like we were saying before, I would think one would be for the women career-wise.
Mhm.
A lot of them are more focus-driven on their careers,
Mhm.
and once they have that in place, and I think a lot of that came down to them focusing on that is to make sure that they have that stability
Okay, so
financially.
I see you raise his hand. Go ahead.
Yes, keep in mind the eyes are the windows to the world. Social media has become prevalent. What we see nowadays really affects choice. And you asked the question, part of the question, you had choice in there, and it is a choice. The reason that I'm using the word choice is men and women, your question was on women, but men and women both look out and they're searching for something. What are they searching for? They're searching for what social media has shown them. Money's important, your financial standing. Looks are important, and we go by that. We stay out of the game. I'll call it a game. We stay out of the game of searching for marriage because we're looking for finances and looks. Finances and looks. If she doesn't look the way I want to, I'm still looking. If she don't have finances close to mine, I'm still looking. So therefore, we stay in the game longer. We're out of college, 24 or so. Now we're 30 or so, and we're still looking. We haven't found the looks or the finances. We just haven't connected with the things that social media says that, hey, it's very important. Think about it.
I agree with that.
Well, I can say that I know for me, um I wasn't when I said to myself like I wanted to get married by the time I was 30, there was no social media. So I didn't have like different images, at me like this is the age. I think that for me, like working since I was 13, just having goals for myself and things that I wanted to do, how much fun I wanted to have, I felt like 30 was the age when I'd be like, all right, I done did all the things that I wanted to do. Like now I'm ready to like settle down and start a family because I associated marriage with starting a family and I didn't want to do that early, and that wasn't because of social media.
Okay, so for me, when I look at the question, um, it says, was it out of necessity or by choice?
Okay, before you begin, I guess Jazz clarified on your question.
Okay,
She said, I said that because women started feeling like they didn't need a man and there were no father figures in the households. So that was the reason for her question, why she said the government replaced the men in the household.
okay. So
So she was just
I asked her
clarifying.
two questions to that. How were men replaced out of the household? And when you say there was no father figure, what situation are you referring to? All right. So when she gets that response to that, you give me that.
Okay.
But back to this. So choice versus necessity. That was or both. That was the question, right? I personally believe that in the beginning, okay, someone else is joined. It's my
Marla,
daughter,
other daughter.
my mini me. Right. So I personally believe it was done with the intentions in the beginning of it being a necessity. That hey, the world now is changing and evolving where things are getting more expensive,
Right.
and a one family income isn't enough. So let me focus on career wise. If I decide to join the marriage group, both incomes could support what needs to be done as far as us living a certain lifestyle or keeping with inflation and all that good stuff. I think somewhere along the line, it changed from necessity to a choice. It fell out of necessity, being that these are things that were prevalent to us surviving in this growing economy, to where mentally start saying, you know what, eh, I'll wait because of A, B, and C.
Okay, I have Chris over here on YouTube, and she said, I think it's both a choice and just how things played out. LOL.
Okay, I agree with that.
Okay.
So now, education and marriage. College education, black women still have lower marriage rates than equally educated white women, right? So among black college graduates aged 25 to 35, 60% of black women have never married compared to 38% of white college graduate women. So the question would be, does higher education empower or complicate marriage prospects? Why might that differ by race?
And for me, I will say this. I don't think it could ever complicate a marriage if you know who you're marrying. I think if you're in a healthy relationship with your partner, even if you're the one with the college education and he isn't,
Mhm.
and he still is goal oriented, I don't see how that could ever be a complication.
Right. So I agree with that. And but the second part of that question is why might that differ by race? Because go about these statistics.
Well, if we're talking about that, I have to look at the education rate for Black men versus other men of other races.
This
And
isn't speaking to that.
I know, but it's talking about, you're saying the Black woman, but we have to include,
So it basically is saying that when you get the college graduates amongst
right,
black and white, that
the
the
women.
rate for
Mhm.
black women, excuse me, that have graduated, their marriage rates are very low
But they,
compared to their counterparts, which are the white graduates, women. And why is that?
I
So,
think that I think that I think that our white counterparts are groomed for marriage early. I think that a lot of times they are going to college, and it's like they're going to these prestigious universities, and it's like, okay, they're going to debutante balls, and it's all about this guy John. He's the president of the bank, and this is his son. I think that is all not gonna is I think is almost like arranged marriages. Like they push those alliances early. um in my opinion, I think that I'm not going to say that's the end all be all, but I think that a part of that um plays a significant role. I think that they just push marriage early, they push the alliance, they push unification, and being with somebody successful.
So to what you're just saying, my question to you would be, so would that rely or go back to what I was saying earlier about the previous question? From that scenario that you're giving, to me, it sounds like necessity. That they value economic empowerment
And building
as a
off of it.
necessity to build that relationship and not falter, but
Well,
form that idea of marriage under the necessity of empowerment outside of
love.
love, as far as dealing
It's
with
just about
society.
generational wealth and continuing on legacy and those things and keeping a certain standard within their community.
So why isn't that done in the Black community?
I don't know, but
I feel like that kind of goes back to culture as well.
As culture, I agree. I can agree with that.
Chris said, I don't think higher education complicates marriage. I think marriage rates differ by race because of the culture. And she also said, I'm 36. If I had things my way, I would have married in my early 20s. But thank God that didn't happen, and I got married in my early 30s.
Okay, I'm going to question that now. So why did you say if you had it your way? What is your idea of why you would get married early, and what form that? And now you're saying, thank God you didn't do it till you were later. So what makes you think that later was the better choice versus early? I guess I have to wait for a minute for that to develop.
Okay.
So the question is, why might that differ by race? So economics and structural factors, right?
Okay.
So this kind of goes into what V was talking about, kind of goes into what you were talking about. So research links higher incarceration and unemployment among Black men to lower marriage rates, especially when compared to white counterparts. So you said earlier you want to look into the Black men. Yes, I'm trying to get you to slow down a little bit so we can get this, but you're right. So yes, I think that plays a huge part as far as culture goes.
Right.
Because Jazz said earlier about them removing
the man from the household,
the husband.
Right.
So I was asking her how, because you can have an opinion,
but we
it's
want to deal with some facts. Right. And one of the ones we're using now. Right.
I just want to know why was that your response and where you got it from.
So now we know, of course, incarceration. Now it's always been, I think, the number one and is at the top. But also now we're looking at how can I put this? Their life choices. So the alphabet community has now, so we have more Black men that are now on that side. Even though I see here lately, it's becoming a trend for lavender weddings or lavender marriages.
Explain that.
So that's basically a gay man, but he's still wanting to be married, and understanding that the marriage is for, if it's a child that he wants, he can still have that. But he wants someone that is willing to understand his preference, that he wants a child, but I will take care of you and give you everything that you want and make sure that you're financially stable and that you have and that you're treated well and that you have all of these. The only thing
I mean, because
I want you to sacrifice or compromise on is that lifestyle that he has outside of that.
I'm confused. So this, in the beginning, I thought you were referring to like a surrogate.
No.
So he wants to be with. So his lifestyle preference is men, but he wants to marry
He
a
still wants to-
woman
Because he wants to
just
still
to
have
have a child.
right. He still wants maybe children.
And why can't you just go through a surrogate? I don't know. I mean, that's a whole nother. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but that is another thing
Okay.
that is affecting our community now too. So there's a lot of that, and then there are some women that they are like, you know what, for financial reasons and stability, this may work for me.
Okay.
I mean,
I get it, but I'm not.
now, does that always? Right,
But,
because
okay.
even with that, I can see things going terribly wrong, and the community, the rates going up.
Now, I don't want to spin off into a whole nother topic.
I know, but I just thought
prior to Obama passing the law where gays can now get legally married.
I thought that was before him.
Was it before him?
I almost
if somebody knows, please correct me. But before this became law, I could see them doing that. But
Yeah, Obama made that legal.
Who? Obama?
Yeah.
Obama?
Okay, so
Mhm.
I was correct. So now with that being law, I don't see the reason for you doing that. Because you can always go the surrogate route. But
maybe they're still ashamed and not accepted by their family.
Right, and that was something else I was going to bring up. Some of them are still,
So then my thing would be this then. I mean, that could be very true. So how would you know it's a lavender wedding?
The man and the wife would have an agreement. The woman is not in the dark.
Right,
she's gonna know, right, Quinn?
Yes, she
okay.
knows. Yeah, he's very in those situations. From what I've read and what I've seen, they're very upfront about their lifestyle. All they're asking for is a woman, a partner. They're asking for a partner for this purpose and somebody that, I still want the ideal of having a marriage, even though my preference is over here, and being in a relationship with a friend. So almost, so to speak. And I don't mind taking care of you and doing all of those things for you for the purpose of being in a marriage. But on the other side of that, I have this going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So economic stability, employment, income is strongly tied to marriage's likelihood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lack of stable employment for men can reduce marriage prospects. And I agree with that. So what solutions can help improve economic conditions and in turn marriage stability?
You said what can help that?
Yeah, what can help that? So according to what we just read, in the Black community, we talked about incarceration. We talked about a lack of the jobs being out there, employment that can reduce the marriage prospects.
Right.
So if you're on that end, or you're on that tail end of that coin, so to speak, that can reduce the women that are out there.
Or the men.
No, I'm going. This is a scenario I'm putting out there.
Okay.
So based on what we was going through, we're talking about women with higher education.
Okay.
So now we're talking about the men with the lack of the higher education, right? So that can reduce his prospect of women not wanting to select him as a marriage partner because of his lack in that area. So the question again was, how could we improve those economic conditions in turn, so marriage stability can.
So what do you think as a man? How can that be improved?
If we're going with the incarceration part, we have to have a real system in place of while they're in incarceration, of getting education. When they come out, taking them from being locked up to future job endeavors, or whether it was while they were in getting degrees. I mean, they do that now. I think it needs to be better because I see some guys come out and because of the restraints, or whether it was a felony or whatever, certain jobs are limited to them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, to me, that's almost like double jeopardy.
Right.
They did the crime, they got caught, and they did the time.
Right.
And once they come out from doing the time, it's like they're still being
punished
for something they served their time for.
Yeah.
So why can't they go get their driver's license like immediately?
Right.
Why can't they be reestablished back into society under the same, the same privileges that I have because they did the time?
Right. And then if they were in there actually doing the work, if they were educating themselves, if they were doing all of those things, you know, to be able to be a good citizen and you know,
While they were in.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's something. That's one of the things. And as far as we go with the Black community, we have to establish a mindset of, you know, for lack of choice of words, but just because that's their background.
I gotta say, because of forgiveness.
Yeah,
and
that doesn't mean that's all
it.
who they are.
They are. Now we ain't saying, you know, somebody that has done like something to, you know, children or whatever, not to be wise and so. But what we are saying is, okay, if they have served their time, why are we still beating them in the head with that? Why are we not giving them a chance to at least, you know, try to thrive?
Anybody want to speak on that? Okay.
I would say that I agree. I think that you know, the Black community was lacking for so long, and unfortunately the only way to get it was to go out and do things that would cause you to unfortunately get locked up. But I think that, you know, once you get out, if you were incarcerated, once you get out, pick up a trade, pick up something that you're interested in, and become the best that you can be in that, and start your own business. If nobody want to hire you, start your own business. But then I also think that as a Black community, we have to support that business, because that's what they do. It's so many people that go to jail for wire fraud and
Right.
all this and that, and they come out and they got a business partner like, you still know how to crunch them numbers? You
Right.
reformed? You know what I mean? Like, you know, I got a job for you. Come on. You know what I mean? Like, we have to take on that mentality to unfortunately rebuild our community and our culture. We were so used to not having this. We don't want to share, we don't want to help, but it's enough for everybody.
Agreed. I see you raise your hand. Go ahead.
What's being said is very true, but one of the things that I believe we're not looking at is, she talked about the trade schools. I think colleges are going to that direction now that they're so expensive that a lot of people just not made for college, and they're going to trade schools. And I think she's right. Trade schools should be another option, because Black men are behind the gun. As she said already, Black men are at a disadvantage. I can remember having so many conversations at work with white guys and talking about the disadvantage that Black men were at. They still didn't understand. They still didn't understand how many Black men are actually Black married. I'll use the term Black married men are leaving a legacy for their children. Not very many. Most Black parents are dying and maybe leaving their kids a few $1,000s. Well, a few $1,000s are nothing. I can get that on welfare. But if we look at the white side of that, we're at a strong disadvantage. And one of the things, I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, but one of the things that we need to look at is, when Black men do make it, what happens to them? They're again at a disadvantage, because one of the first things they want to do is go marry a white woman. And we well, black women see that, but black men see it also. Black men see it as an advantage because I can still get further ahead. We look all the way back to OJ's situation. I can get further ahead if I'm married to a white woman. That's some of the mindset that are that's been put out there by the black men that are especially athletes and entertainers. That's been put out there. Marry a black woman, you get a little bit further ahead. You may be wealthy already, but you get a little bit wealthier. And that's an issue for the black man. Black man still running the race from behind.
Yep, and that's what we're going to bring up next about interracial marriage patterns. Black women marry outside their race less often than black men. Around 13% of black women versus 21% of black men marry non-black partners.
So back to you. And you saying that they feel like they can get a little further ahead. What do you think sparked that ideal? Is that a truth? Culture? What do you think really prompted that and gave it its boost to that where it happens pretty often?
Well, just seeing what happens in front of you. We can go all the way back to Jack Johnson. If you don't know who Jack Johnson was, he was a boxer. And getting to a certain status where now you got the family that accepts you. Now you got, when I use the word accept, I don't mean total exception, but they accept you. Now friends of the friends that you have been accepted for are accepting you, and it goes further and further. So that gives you a foothold in the financial field and an acceptance field to move up some. You're going up the ladder more and more each time when you marry the white woman. And black men, I don't know why. I don't know why, but as soon as they make it, first thing they want is a white woman.
So being that you brought up Jack Johnson, right? So when I read up on Jack Johnson, his reason for marrying a white woman, if I read it and understood it correctly, wasn't for as far as getting ahead a little bit more. It was to poke the eye in the aggressor. This was something that was definitely looked down upon, could definitely get you killed back then in those days. And he did that all the time because that was the epitome of his career. Was they always wanted the great white hope. That's where that title came from. That they wanted to see that this man get destroyed because he was undefeated. It seemed like he couldn't be beaten. And because of that, him knowing that, that was the reason why he would go around parade with white women. That's why he married a white woman, to keep sticking his finger in the eye of the oppressor, should I say. And I think that was part of it. But so what she just said about the percentages, so how do we preference or societal pressures influence these interracial relationship trends? And I think that was some of the things you were alluding to, was that we feel like we can get a little bit ahead. When you brought up the Jack Johnsons, you brought up the OJs. But your end response to that was you still don't know why, or you couldn't understand it. And I agreed to that. It's like it's still almost a trend even now, that you see that. And if that's the case, if we underline it and stamp it and highlight it that it's the get ahead part, then why isn't it on the reverse side of black women
who are now successful?
They're now successful, that their rate is not as high as ours. It's much higher. Ours is much higher. So I question that, but.
Right, because I was going to say a lot now, we see real quick, is that there are a lot of black women that are very successful. And then there'll be a white woman who is, as far as career-wise, isn't working, doesn't have any of that, but she may have the family influence. Okay. So I think that maybe that comes in on that part.
Would that be because Kanye?
Yeah, I mean, basically, right. So you're looking at what the family okay, so maybe the girl isn't working, she never has, and like Rhonda was saying earlier about them being prepped to okay, you're going to align with X, Y, and Z, to make sure we're forming these alliances. And maybe now the black man is saying, well, hey, in order for me to get ahead, I see that her family is connected to, Bob over here and Joe. And if I get in that, even though she's not working, all I have to do is take care of her.
Just the influence.
The influence alone will get me ahead and get me into other rooms that I'm trying to get into. So I think that's where that comes into play, where when they look at a black woman, it's like, okay, yeah, she's successful and she has money, but outside of that, what rooms are she going to get me into if she's not connected? So I think it's about being connected to other entities.
Okay, I can agree with that.
He has.
Okay, raise your hand. Yeah.
Well, this is going to be a weak statement, but it's still a man's world. I mean, you ask Oprah, you ask the rest of the people that have truly made it. It's still a man's world. So it's just like having candy on a shelf. For men, it's something, like I said, I don't understand, but I only understand a small portion of it. It's like having candy on a shelf. There's something out there, there's an apple out there that we want. And it's our desires to have something that, hey, mama said, don't touch that frosting for the cake. It's for later on. And we want it. And it's the same thing with women. White men said don't touch him. Black women said don't touch him. But what does black men do? It's a desire. I want it. I got to have it. So it's a desire that we try to fulfill. Black women are progressively becoming more fluently, more fluent success in the world, but they're still not there. They're a long way off. And it's a man's world still. So that's part of the problem. It's a man's world.
I don't think that was a weak statement at all. I think that's truth, 100%. We speak on this podcast about that all the time. And like I told my wife, I said, there's things that men can get away with
that we'll never
that
be able
they
to.
can't get away with, where we can do the same things, but it's looked at totally differently because we are men. And I'm not saying that it's fair or correct. I'm just saying that this is what men can do. And like you said, because it's a man's world. So I totally agree with that. I don't think that was a weak statement at all. So we're going to go to...
It's 6 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
We're going to go to divorce, cohabitation, and single parenthood. Divorce rates among Black couples are high relative to some other groups, affecting marriage stability. That's per the Pew Research Center. Cohabitation has increased, but fewer cohabitating Black couples transition to marriage compared to white couples.
And I wonder if it's something because they're comfortable, and after a while, it's even if the Black woman is with this man and she is the one that wants to get married, and maybe he said, you know what, I do not want to get married, but I don't want to be with anybody else, but I'll make sure you're always taken care of. I think because of that, women will just accept it because they're like, okay, well, he said he's not going to be with anybody else, and he takes care of the household and the children, and then that's it.
I will go a little step further.
Okay.
And earlier when he was saying that social media is the eyes to the world, right? And when you look at social media and you see a couple together and then you see a couple divorce, and we get to see the ugly divorce play out.
Yeah, but let's go back to Vonda. This has been going on for years. It's not something that is new.
What's going on for years?
Where there's couples that they have been together for years, and like even in families, and you would have thought that they were married because you've always seen them together, and you call her Aunt Linda
Right.
and Uncle Tom, and then you find out when Uncle Tom get married, Aunt Linda is left out in the dark because she was not married to him, and you was like, well, shoot, you sure? I've been calling her aunt. I mean, I know I had it in my family,
right?
And they were not married,
right,
but there was an arrangement. What
I'm referring to is that because of society and when we see these divorces play out, and either scenario, it doesn't matter whether it's the woman's side or the men's side, you see where one had the wealth and the other didn't.
Right.
And now they come together and this ugly divorce plays out, and the one that didn't have the wealth walks away with half the wealth.
Okay, so on that note, I would say to this. If during that time that I was with you, right? Depending on what did you come into the relationship with and what did I come in with, right?
I know about this.
And let's say I didn't, but I was the one that had all the ideas. I was the one that had everything that pushed you to get to where you was at. Why shouldn't I be compensated for that? Okay, yes, I did not financially invest, but I did as far as I would say research, education, all of those things that you needed in order to make that possible. I did that. So I
like
did the
right
job.
now-
I was your secretary.
So
I was
right
the
now
research.
you handling all the work over here.
Right, I'm
on
handling
social media,
everything.
and I'm just putting buttons.
Right.
You ain't getting none of this money. You know what I'm saying? I see you.
I'm married.
Go ahead.
Very good comment. But what I wanted to say was back again to the eyes are the windows to the world. Black and white, we both see what's going on in front of us. And one of the thing that black men have that's a plus and a minus for them is black people on one sense of the conversation. When something goes wrong, we take care of our own. We'll take in a sick kid, a sick mother, a sick father. But what's the white race do? They'll send them off to be helped by somebody else because we don't want to do that. And that's kind of it's a good thing spiritually, but it's a bad thing as far as the finances go, because that throws us out the door. We don't have the finances to start out with. And we take care of that that child that's disabled or whatever it is. And whites are totally different on that. So you call it cohabitation. I call it shack pappy. The men are usually shack pappies with the sense of, in the past, my parents have taken care of everybody. They've moved in because mom is usually going to be the first one to say yes to take care of. And what do we men do? We want to move in with mom, and not so much mom, or with the girlfriend. So we become shack pappies. And that's part of our reason to things that have happened in the past. Your eyes are the windows to the world. So you kind of take it from there.
Okay, so I can see that, but more what I was referring to is when we see the divorce play out, I get your part. That's a whole other deep layered discussion of what you should be equally compensated for. You're right. I do agree with some of that. But what I'm saying is, as far as outside looking in, and you see partner A that's worth $3 billion marries, for lack of better words, a commoner, and they come together. Then they have an ugly divorce, and she or he walks away with half. So on the outside, looking at that, it's like, why? I don't want to get married, and then something happens, and you walk away with half of what I accomplished without you. So I think that's why we see that pattern happen more, where they say, hey, we'll come together, won't get married on paper. That way, if something does happen, I can go my way, you can go your way. I saw you raise your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, I'll cut that conversation off with prenuptial. Prenuptials out there, and believe me, we all married think about it. And we think about it more, the more financial stable we are, the more we think about prenuptial.
Yes,
Go ahead.
The problem with that also is that depends on the state you're in, or what the prenuptial allows you to still have, where you separate equally, unequally. So it depends on, like, something you might have to say, yeah. You might say, yeah, I want to prenup. And she's saying, yeah, but we got to move to Maine because Maine is going to protect me more so, being that I am the billionaire. It's going to protect me a little bit more under the legal rights of what you can or can't, or what you actually are legally to take away from the marriage, or whatever the case may be. So I think that's what prompts a lot of people to wind up being single parents, because one, like you said, comfortability, move in, don't get married. Like my mom used to say, you bought the cow, you got the milk, but you didn't pay for the cow. And you find that to be me personally, I find that to be the norm. When I look back over history from one generation to the next, that's starting to be the norm. Well, we don't need to be married. we could do this. We can cohabitate. We could be shack pappies, and each one is happy because of what they may or may not have to deal with legally. And I think that prompts a lot of why you see things happen.
And why there's such a high singles rate
Yes.
and a low marriage rate.
Yes.
Okay.
So, excuse me.
Next one.
So being that we're on there, are cohabitation and marriage becoming fundamentally different goals? And I think they actually are. I think marriage has fallen to the rear.
Right. So how should society reframe how family is stable? Like, what does that look like? How is that being reframed as far as families and what that looks like? And
I think that's hard to actually frame it because, unfortunately, me personally, I think marriage should be always at the forefront.
Right.
But to just say frame it as far as society goes, that cohabitation may work perfectly for somebody else.
And
I don't agree with it, but that's not my situation.
Right.
So I don't think we can frame it as a whole for society.
So it comes down to individuality.
I think so.
What you're looking for in a partner and what that looks like for you moving forward into your future.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Okay, I can live with that.
So anybody want to respond to that?
This is a lot.
It is a lot. We might have to cut it short.
Yeah. Because it breaks. We did so much. It broke down to some other stuff. I think we should.
Yeah. So I think we're going to end it there.
Right.
I think this is a very good topic. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us, coming on. Thank you. Please
Drea, thank you for coming on, even though I can't hear you.
Yeah, if you can say something, if you're still there, let us know. I want to get your feedback.
I just at least want to hear your voice. I sent you a text too, but she might still be cooking or something.
It's probably because she hasn't said anything. So
yeah. Oh, she said okay. So, but I thank everybody for coming on tonight. Definitely, if y'all have any topics or anything that you want to talk about, definitely hit us up. We'll talk about those. Also, tonight we were supposed to be highlighting a business, but the person didn't come on. But for those that do have businesses, do remember that we are here. We will be promoting your business. Just hit me up. We'll definitely make that happen on one of our segments. We also have some other things coming in the near future. For those that missed it last week, we do have our song now for the channel that me and Kel wrote. So y'all can listen to that some more on the way out. Definitely give us feedback, like, share our content, follow us. For those that aren't, we are on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube.
Yes.
Right now. So those are the ones that we are on. Definitely go out there, hit those pages up, share it with other people in the community. We are here. We love y'all. And this has been Recipe to Chivalry. And I am Quintella.
And I'm Kel.
Good night, and
Good
we
night,
love you.
And thank you so much.
Just listen to this on the way out.
Keep it cooking.
Keep it cooking. Next time.
Late nights, real love. It's the wrong connection. Recipe to chivalry. Love ain't clean, but it's worth the scars. Late night talk, still healing hearts. Patience, pain, honesty. That's the recipe. Recipe to chivalry. Arguments cold, but we stay right here. Choosing us when it ain't clear. From the mess to the chemistry. That's the recipe. Recipe to chivalry. Started off out and trust was there. Both had walls and let nobody in. You wanted effort, I moved too guarded. Almost lost love cause pride got harder. Doors got slammed, silence loud. Love on trial, emotions wild. Almost quit, almost let it bleed. But staying took more strength than leave. Had to learn how to fight to win. Learn how to listen, I talk again. Less ego, more empathy. That's when love started to lead. That's when love started cooking me. Love ain't clean, but it's worth the scars. Lady night talk, still healing hearts. Patience, pain, chivalry. Arguments cold, but we stay right here. Choosing us when it ain't clear. From the mess to the chemistry, that's the recipe. Recipe to chivalry. Marriage ain't magic, it's pressure and weight. Bills on the table, emotions to pay. Some days distance, share one bed. Other days, you're my peace in my head. Learning your language, not raising my tone.